My name is Oren Soffer. I'm co-cinematographer on The Creator, along with Greg Fraser, which is having a special screening here at Camerimage.
When the war started, they protected me. Took better care of me than humans would have.
They're not people, Maya. It's just programming.
Greg gave me a call one day out of the blue, which is always a surreal thing that happens with Greg sometimes. But you always pick up the phone, no matter what time, and there's always going to be some crazy adventure at the other end of the line. I've been very fortunate to have a kind of mentorship with him. But yeah, he was looking for DP to sort of take over the project and be boots on the ground, because he wasn't going to be able to be on set because of scheduling conflicts with Dune Part 2. Originally, the intent was Greg and Gareth Edwards, the director, were really interested in going back to Gareth's roots on Monsters, which is his first film. And Gareth shot Monsters tried and true guerrilla style. No crew, no infrastructure. It was just him, a handful of people driving around in a van, in a pass van in Central America with 2 actors. Gareth, with his background in visual effects, created the scope of that film on his own, doing all the visual effects on a laptop. There was a desire from Gareth, after doing 2 large studio films, to go back to that kind of filmmaking. The project was originally pitched to me kind of similarly. It was like, you're going to be driving around Thailand in a pass van, and you're going to pull over to the side of the road, and you're going to walk into a village and start filming. The project ended up being a little bit larger in scale than we initially thought. It took a few more than 1 passenger van. I think there were more like 100. And we had a bit of a bigger crew and bigger footprint than we initially anticipated. But I think the spirit of that was still present in the shoot, and we did still capture that very much. The intent was to create an experience for an audience that feels immersive, authentic, organic, lively, gritty, present, real. And that was especially important for Gareth on this film because it's science fiction. Artificiality was the death word on set. If something felt artificial, false, fake, unbelievable, we had to fix it. We had to find a way to get to authenticity. So my job was to understand Gareth's brain, and understand his eye, and understand his taste and his vision. That was part of the craziness of the initial phone call from Greg, because one thing that he had mentioned was, oh, and by the way, we're shooting the movie on the Sony FX3. And I was like, oh, really? And I didn't really know much about the camera and what it was capable of, but they knew. That was the last time I thought about it. You know, after that, I was just figuring out the logistics of our custom rigs that we built for the camera, figuring out some workflow issues, because that camera had not been used on a film of this size before. And an important detail that I neglected to mention is that Gareth was operating the camera on our film. So all of this was also, I think, to give him something that he could operate pretty quickly and without fatiguing himself on an 80-day shoot. How can I shoot in this style and get as far away from that size and weight and infrastructure and support required as possible? And that led us to the FX3 with prosumer accessories and lightweight anamorphic lenses. We shot on the Kowa anamorphic, 2x anamorphic, PS Technic rehouse, and we also carried an Atlas Mercury 42mm, which is a very small and lightweight anamorphic 1.5D squeeze. I think we were all very surprised and impressed with just how cinematic the final film was. I mean, we had the concept art, like I'd mentioned, and the script obviously describes all these images and scenes. Part of the uniqueness of this process is that the visual effects and a lot of the production design in the visual effects were intentionally saved for post-production. And our goal was really to shoot the film as if it were on location. Brought this amazing footage to ILM and basically started creating this process of what does it look like to paint over this footage and add the visual effects on top of it with 2D tracking, 2.5D, and a little bit of 3D work and a lot of rotoscoping. And they did it. Like, they proved that that approach could work with no green screens, blue screens, or trackers. That was really the process. And so we were unencumbered entirely. We had our on-set visual effects supervisor, Andrew Roberts, who was amazing from ILM. He had to gather as much information as possible on set, shoot HDRIs, silver ball, reflective ball, color charts, reference images, LiDAR scans, any information that he could gather, I think, for each location we were filming in was instrumental for them to be able to recreate the lighting environments for the 3D work. One moment that really stands out in terms of the nimbleness of the camera and the small footprint was we were shooting at a location in the south of Thailand called Railay Beach, which is paradise, if anyone's been there. 100 yards down the beach, there's people sitting in lawn chairs, like drinking mojitos. We are shooting this like pretty intense scene, which is the opening scene of the movie, where Joshua and Maya, John David Washington and Gemma Chan, have a sort of fight, and then they run down the beach to these boats that are waiting, and she gets in a boat, and they all peel away, and John David chases after her. And we thought that we would get a lot of attention. We didn't have any of this infrastructure that you typically see on a film set. Like, if you were looking at it from afar, you probably didn't really know what it was. And I think that became very emblematic of like the nature of the filmmaking and the footprint that we had.